Yo, what's good with y'all, man? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to mix and master samples so they don't sound like trash anymore. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. So I got the sample right here, and this is how it's sounding completely mixed and mastered. So there's a few different workflows that I like to use when mixing and mastering samples. And the first one being leveling everything in the channel rack and then bringing it into a mixer. Or what I find myself doing more often than not is bringing every sound into the mixer off the rip. And not even just the midis, I'm bringing in like the actual audio files into the mixer right as I put them in as well. So I can already start mixing it and kind of leveling it how I want to. So like I said, the first thing I'm gonna do is level everything. So I want everything to sound a certain way, and you wanna have that clean mix, and leveling is really gonna make it so it sounds pretty clean. We don't have sounds clashing with each other and like all that kind of stuff. The first sound we have here is just the main kind of chords. And I want that to kind of be like the main thing in the sample, so it's going to be my loudest thing. The next thing is this layer on top of those chords, and I want it to be pretty present but not taking over what that first layer is. So I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. And then the other kind of elements, I just want to kind of tuck them in the back and almost use them as textures. So for example, this one right here, it's almost just like a texture. And I also have this guitar. I almost kind of want this guitar to be kind of felt, not as much like really present in the mix in terms of volume. So when I'm mixing stuff, I want to have a general direction of what I want to do. And it also depends on what kind of samples you want to make. This one's kind of more like a chill, like R&B kind of vibe to it. And like, I didn't want it to be like the bass is super crazy in your face, like just kind of more chill, and the levels kind of reflect that. And like I said, the bass is really tucked down low. Yeah, sounds good like that. Also, what I do too is if I'm mixing, sometimes I mix really quiet, and then that's no problem because we can just bring that back up in the mastering process. We can just bring the gain up or use like a limiter or whatever. There's different ways we can do that, which I'm going to go over in the mastering section. But continuing with the actual mixer, what I really like to do more recently is turning a lot of my sounds to mono, not fully mono, but a little bit mono, and playing with the panning. Because I feel like that adds a lot of different like just character to your samples. You can have things pan differently. Just give it a different feel, and bringing it mono and then panning everything keeps it that wide kind of feel. Because if you put everything mono, it's going to sound very in the middle. But if you bring it a little bit mono and play with the panning, you still get that wide kind of feel to it, which I really like. And that's what I've been doing with a lot of my samples. So for example, the first layer is panned a little bit to the left, a little bit mono. The chord layer is panned a little bit to the right. So I kind of have that like one's left, one's right, still kind of get that full sounding in your headphones or on speakers or whatever. And that's what I'm doing for every sound in this project. Everything's panned, everything's mono. The only thing that's not panned is the bass, and I always like to put my basses either all the way mono or a little bit mono. It kind of depends on the sample. Sometimes I really want the bass in your face, and that's more of like a darker type of vibe, and the bass is kind of carrying it a little bit. And that one I'll have a little bit less mono, kind of in your face. But for this one, it's like half mono, and it's turned down a lot. Also with percussion, this one's super big because you can do a lot with this. Percussion could be the driving force of your sample, kind of creates that bounce. And there's a lot of different ways you can do. This one, I kind of just tucked it way in the back, turned it completely mono, and turned it down a lot. So it's almost like kind of felt, not really hearing it as much. And what I like to do with a lot of my percussions is EQ it to kind of have just the mid frequencies. I don't like to have too much sub or bass or too much like treble, like that high end. I kind of like to find that middle ground. And I think for the sample like this, like an R&B type of vibe, that mid frequency area is really nice. And now we're just going to talk about EQs. Like for the main samples, I'm cutting out a lot of the low end, and this is just to make room for the bass. And this is the bass EQ. And pretty much what I'm doing here is taking out these really like muddy, subby frequencies that I thought were a little bit too present in the mix. What I'm doing is just boosting up these mid frequencies and taking out some of these highs. And I think boosting the mids just kind of make it a little bit more present, especially for somebody listening on like a phone. you can kind of hear the bass a little bit more, and also didn't want too much high end in it to take away from the high end in the actual like melodies. That's pretty much my basic mixing. You can kind of apply these techniques to like pretty much every sound. Just kind of apply some of the things I've been talking about into any samples. Just kind of use your ear. Really, that's the most important part. Use your ear, and kind of don't mix based off of levels completely. Like, don't go, oh, my bass has to hit at 8 dB. You want it to hit where it sounds good. Don't just follow a general formula, and that's what I don't like to do. I like to just kind of go use my ear and just make things sound good with my ear pretty much. Now onto the mastering effects. I do a bunch of different stuff when I master samples, and this might not be the greatest thing ever, but I think what I do actually works for me. So I'm just going to go over my basic master chain. I'm always putting on this EQ to kind of boost up these highs just to kind of sound more crispy. I'm always adding a soft clipper no matter what. It's always on my master. I don't want it to clip at all. I don't want it to go above 0 dB. I want it to stay down tamed. And this is where I kind of switch it up a lot. So usually though, when I make samples, I'm putting on a sound shifter on my master, and I like to just play around the pitch whenever I'm like kind of making the sample, or even at the end when I'm like, all right, this sample's good. I'm going to play with the pitch. I'm using sound shifter, and this is just like a workflow hack. I talked about it in my last video. I love this plugin, even though it's just a pitch shifter. It's just really, really good for workflow. Another thing that's almost always on my master is SAUCEEEE. And this is just a great plugin for just kind of taking away those frequencies that you kind of missed with your mixing or whatever, and just kind of taming those frequencies. So like I said before, I usually mix quiet, not all the time, but sometimes when I do mix, it just ends up being quiet, and I have to boost it up somehow. I never touch this master knob here because I don't think it sounds the best. Pretty much what I'm doing though on this particular sample is adding this gain plugin, and it's completely free. I believe it's from Kilohertz, and all it is just boosting gain. As you can see, I'm boosting it by 10 dB, and it makes a big difference. Like, I'm here, that's on, this is off. Look where it's hitting without the master effects. It's just here. Now I add some dB, boost it up by 10. It sounds way better, way more full, but it's still a little bit quiet. I can probably boost it up a little bit more, but it's sounding good still. And a stock way to do this is just adding a limiter. So we'll just play it and just boost the gain. And then there you go. You got the gain up, and it just boosts the frequencies. But like I said, I like to use this gain plugin. I don't know, it's just something I've been doing. Definitely pick this up. It's definitely another like workflow hack as well. So when I'm adding these gain plugins, I'm always putting my soft clipper at the end of the mix so it doesn't go above that 0 dB threshold. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Let me know what you guys do to mix and master samples. I put out a community post like last week saying if you guys wanted a video like this, and I've got a ton of engagement on it, and a lot of people said that they wanted it. I can definitely expand it a little more, but definitely take what I said here and kind of apply it to your own samples and kind of see what works for you. Some things I'm talking about here might not work with specific samples, but you can kind of apply these different methods to different samples. Definitely a different type of video today. I wanted to make this though because not only did you guys want to see it, I think there's not a lot of really good videos breaking down how to like mix and master like samples. So I just wanted to go over here because I've been making a ton of samples lately, as you can see just by my channel. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one.